Good morning, everybody. Thanks for coming. Go ahead and have a seat if you want to, and we'll get the proceedings underway here pretty soon. I'm Jonathan Nichols-Pethick. I'm the director of the Pulliam Center for Contemporary Media. I want to welcome you on this very miraculously lovely August day in Indiana. I'm just going to quickly introduce our first presenter, first speaker here, which is Dr. Mark McCoy, who's the president of DePauw University.
Thanks, JMP. It's great to have you here. Welcome to DePauw. We're glad that you're here today on this beautiful morning. Actually, this is the weather here on a regular basis. Every day it's just like this, low humidity, blue sky, beautiful sunshine. We're glad you're here to take part in it. I'm happy to be able to help you celebrate the 110 years of the Society of Professional Journalists. We're proud of our connection to SPJ and proud of our student media that carry on the traditions of excellence that this organization represents. SPJ was founded by DePauw students as a fraternity, Sigma Delta Chi, open to those individuals, and I quote, dedicated to journalism or other literary work as a life's profession. It is fitting that it was founded here at DePauw, the home of Indiana's first student newspaper. It's also fitting that it was founded by students at a liberal arts institution, with our commitment to educating the whole person and to view that education from a global perspective with all its complexity. There's perhaps no better training ground for journalists than the liberal arts. As announced on May 6, 1909, in what was then the DePauw Daily, now the DePauw, Sigma Delta Chi was founded by students who were, quote, representative of the best that is DePauw. Students of ideals, aims, and ability whose activities have not been confined to one line of college interest, for they have been active in nearly all of the student enterprise. Since that founding, the techniques and the technologies of journalism have changed, but the core principles remain. The same can be said of DePauw and of the liberal arts education. Both journalism and the liberal arts are crucial for the health of democracy and the ongoing pursuit of truth and justice. We are here in our present moment with both journalism and the liberal arts working together to remake themselves in the face of serious challenges, to celebrate the past and to reassert our commitment to continuing our shared vital work both now and in the future. We are happy to join you in celebrating 110 years of the SPJ. And it's now my pleasure to welcome to the podium the national president of SPJ, Alex Tarquinio.
Good morning, and I want to thank everyone for being here today for this special ceremony celebrating 110 years of the Society of Professional Journalists. More than a century ago, 10 young men dressed in black and white ceremoniously entered the chapel right here behind us at DePauw University and pledged their faith to the power of journalism. It is awe-inspiring to reflect on the fact that their youthful idealism ultimately gave rise to the Society of Professional Journalists. To be sure, this grand experiment has undergone many transformations since being founded as an all-male fraternity known as Sigma Delta Chi. Yet, a bright line courses through the timeline of this organization because the spirit of our society has remained true to the vision of our founders. First, in the Roaring 20s, graduates of DePauw and other universities with the SDX fraternities formed the first professional chapters in cities across the country. Then, in 1960, the delegates at the National Convention voted to transform the organization into a national professional association with both student and professional chapters. This year is also an important anniversary for inclusion. 50 years ago, women were finally admitted as members after protesting the all-male membership rules with placards reading, "The Fourth Estate is out of date, and journalists are women too." Arguably, each of these metamorphoses enhanced the society by extending membership to a greater swath of the journalism community. In the current climate of uncertainty for our profession, we have many reasons to be optimistic about SPJ's future. Our mission of educating the current and the future generations of journalists while defending journalism ethics and advocating for open government and press freedom is more important than ever. Today, our dedicated volunteers exude the same spirit of sacrifice and faith in the power of journalism as those 10 young men who entered this chapel on April 17, 1909. It is our fervent hope that SPJ will continue for another 110 years and beyond, fighting the good fight for the ideals embodied in the First Amendment. I thank you. And now I would like to introduce our next speaker, and we will have a statement from the president of the Indiana SPJ Chapter, John Russell.
Thank you, Alex. President McCoy's opening remarks really spoke to me because I didn't go to journalism school. I didn't go to a big university. I went to a small liberal arts university in Ohio and majored in political science and economics and studied lots of different subjects and was guided by, not by professional journalists, but by lots of interesting, smart, helpful people in all departments. And it's good to come back to a university like that and see and learn that this is where SPJ grew up. It's another good tie. So I've got a little confession. I've been a journalist for over 30 years. I've been an SPJ member for many years, on our chapter board for 7 or 8 years, and chapter president for 2 years. And this is my first time to the birthplace of SPJ. So thank you for inviting me. It's a wonderful connection. I was asked a month or two ago during a capital campaign, why SPJ? Why is that still important? And I said it was because it's hard not to really respect and admire an organization that holds dear everything, that stands for everything you hold dear. And it helps you with the daily tasks of doing your job at the highest level and holding people in government accountable with the best kind of training and the best kind of recognition, whether it's workshops on using Google tools so you know how to measure a crowd from a satellite image, or you know how to verify a photo before you put it online or in the paper, or you know how to double check someone's comments versus what they did and voted on a year or two ago. I keep a large poster of the SPJ Code of Ethics in my cubicle to remind me that this is an organization that stands for the highest standards and is something that we have to strive for, and constantly in this day of age where anyone can claim to be a journalist, there are things that set us apart, and it's SPJ, its training, its high standards, and its recognition. And the last thing I would say is, being on a college campus reminds me that my favorite part of my duties as chapter president is handing out scholarships and awards to college students. They're the future. They count on us to do the help and training and lifting up that we got when we were their age. Just last week, I signed a contract for our next banquet for our award ceremony. We are no longer having an award ceremony at a fancy hotel in Indy where we've had it for the last umpteen years. We're taking it to a smaller site, less expensive, so we have save a few $1,000s and can use that for an additional scholarship for a college student. Those are the things that are important. Those are the things that SPJ stands for and that I'm proud to represent. So thanks for inviting me up. Thanks for the ceremony. And now I'd like to welcome Ken Owen, who is going to speak about being an alumnus and an SPJ member.
Thank you, John, and welcome to all of our SPJ friends this morning. I want to, before I start my comments, also point out we have 4 faculty members, actually 5 with Jonathan, who started the proceedings, but Deborah Douglas, Kathy Jesse, Jeff McCall, and Samuel Outman are all very outstanding journalists who teach at DePauw, and we're glad to have you here this morning as well. I am honored to speak today as a DePauw graduate who was initiated as an undergraduate into what was then Sigma Delta Chi, and then spent nearly 20 years as a professional journalist before returning to DePauw to serve my alma mater. As we've heard, we are sitting and standing on what is hallowed ground for a vital part of our republic and our world, the pursuit of truth. In 1909, SPJ was founded right there in that room behind me over my right shoulder. 10 DePauw student journalists created what remains the nation's most broad-based professional organization for journalists. Their idea, and the idea today, was to support a truthful, honorable press, one not dominated by commercialism, and to do that by planting journalistic ideals in student newspaper men and women. Within a few years, Sigma Delta Chi had spread to a dozen other campuses and eventually became the influential voice in American journalism, professional and on a college level, that it is today. In April 1967, that's 52 years ago, this 14-foot bronze and stone monument was dedicated. It was an event that received national coverage from the Associated Press. Eugene Pulliam, a 1910 graduate and one of SPJ's founders, stood right here for the dedication on that day. The world needs him and more Barney Kilgores and James B. Stewarts and Jack McWethies. They're all DePauw graduates, especially now. When I was in college almost 40 years ago, you needed a broadcast tower or a printing press to reach people in a broad way. Well, today, as we know, each of us has the potential power of the CBS News or New York Times, but are we each up to the task? Would you buy your dinner from the side of the road? Maybe so if it's fresh produce. You'd likely give it more thought if it was an unrefrigerated pork chop on a 90-degree day. We need to be discriminating consumers of information, weighing what we read, see, and hear, and seeking background and context. Face value is that pork chop in the sun. I would advocate today that we need in our schools at an early grade to teach students media, how it works, and how news is gathered. Apart from partisan politics and away from the noise, I believe we need to teach people to take a step back when they read or hear something, anything, and ask, what is the source? Do they have a bias? Are there other sources reporting this information? We mandate driver's education, important to be sure, but what could be more vital than an engaged and inquisitive citizenry? Simple questions, whether asked by reporters or the people who consume their work, matter more than ever in 2019. May SPJ enjoy a new vitality as the years go by and continue to serve as a voice and an advocate for truth. Thank you very much.
I want to thank you all for coming again. Before we head off to a short reception at the Pulliam Center, I'd like to take an opportunity to, first of all, thank all of our guests who spoke today so eloquently about journalism, why it matters, why the liberal arts matters, why we do what we do every day. I'm not a journalist, I never pretended to be one, but I am involved in this center that is dedicated to that pursuit, and it's just nice to see our commitment to it reaffirmed on occasion. What I'd like to do now, if people don't mind, is take a couple of group photos to commemorate our event here just in front of the monument, and then we'll head over to the Pulliam Center, which is just down Locust Street. It's a little bit of a walk, not too far, maybe like 3 minutes, to the Pulliam Center, where we have some lunch items and things like that ready for you. So thank you all again. It's great to see you.